Not this. There we go. Employment, chat. Employment numbers much lower than reported. The revision from the fucking Bureau of Labor Statistics after last year's final job report is not looking good. They reported originally 584,000, but the real number was 181,000. What the fuck, dude? Cut by 898,000. Estimates for a reduction of 911,000. Goldman Sachs economists estimated reductions were between 750,000 and 900,000. This is not fun to see, chat. I hate the way Bureau of Labor Statistics found that U.S. employers added 181 jobs, down from almost 500,000, or over 500,000.
Breaking news now. The first U.S. jobs report of 2026 just came out moments ago, and the data shows 130,000 jobs were added in January, and the unemployment rate remains mostly steady at 4.3%. But the big story here is revisions. It comes during a concerning economic moment where inflation is still high and the job market.
Inflation is very high. I was watching a video today at work, or listening to a video. The dollar and the S&P 500 are dropping, and the price of silver has fucking plummeted. Where's his other graph? Sorry. Like, dude, the price of silver dropping from $120 to $76 is insane. Whenever you see something like this, like silver dropping that steadily and that quickly, it is not a good indication of the economy, because it's a lot of wealth just eliminated instantaneously from the economy. Microsoft also underreported, or they estimated they would do very well, and then their earnings report for this year was so low. This AI bubble is gonna be rough when it pops. Also, underemployment is very high. Underemployment rates. Underemployment rates for recent college graduates versus other groups. 5.8%, 3%, 7.8%, and all workers 4.3%. A high underemployment level like this is not good. I mean, granted, here's COVID. COVID doesn't really count. But
has been weakening. NBC News senior business correspondent Christine Romans is here now to break down the numbers. Christine, good morning. Walk us through the January job numbers. How close is it to what we were expecting? And then the big headline here, what did we learn about revisions for 2025?
January was strong, 130,000, pardon my kindergarten drawing here, but 130,000, you know, that's a pretty decent number overall. There were revisions, though, here and here. So
no, it's not. 130,000 jobs is not as good as it seems it is. Our employment level is much smaller than every other country. Yes, our unemployment level has been staying stagnant, but that's because people have 2 to 3 jobs. And just because there's jobs being added doesn't mean those jobs are being, that's each individual person getting a job. That's a lot of people having multiple jobs.
You had the year ending weaker than we thought, but then a pretty strong start to the year. But this is the big number I wanted to tell you about here. The big number here is we thought that there were 584,000 jobs created in 2025. That was the weakest year for job creation outside of a recession since 2003. The government has revised those figures, trying to get a handle among these government shutdowns and big changes in Washington about trade policy, immigration policy.
This is fucking insane. Oh, look at what Biden did. Democrat in office. Great, a lot of that slingshotting back, but holy fucking shit, dude.
See AI coming on the scene, so companies don't have to hire as many people. This number is now 181,000 jobs created last year. That is the weakest year for jobs since at least 2003.
Not good. If you have a job right now, please don't quit it. Genuinely do not quit it unless you have another job. We do not, like, you will not find another job right now. The job market has a lot of ghost not applications, but ghost positions. So people that like ghost openings. Ghost openings, that's the word I was looking for. So jobs that aren't really there, but to show investors that they're hiring, they do that.
That
Wow.
is just essentially the average last year was about 15,000 jobs added every month. That is barely any job
Thank you, Donald
creation.
Trump.
So that is, I think, what the real headline is from these numbers. The revisions to last year showing a labor market that basically was not moving forward.
So then, Christine, break down what the revisions mean for the reality of the unemployment rate.
So the unemployment rate still here relatively low, 4.3%. This break you see here is because of the government shutdown. The reason why we're talking about these numbers on a Wednesday, not a Friday, is because of the government shutdown. So you can see there's been some difficulty here in gathering data and being timely.
By the way, the federal government just chose not to release the numbers, not because of the government shutdown. That's a complete lie. It's not because of the government shutdown. The federal government just chose not to release the numbers because they knew they were bad. The thing is, the government doesn't ever want to release those numbers so they can never seem like they're doing poorly, but then investors freak the fuck out.
With what we're doing here, but a 4.3% unemployment rate is still historically pretty good. But what we're watching here with some concern is just how slow the job creation has been suddenly. Diane Swank, who's the chief economist at KPMG, is calling this a jobless boom. What does that mean, Jessica?
That's
the
true.
economy, all of these, the stock market,
Speculative investing.
economic growth, they look like they're doing great, but you're not seeing job creation along with it.
And that's not good. We will see a drop. Companies are folding in departments, condensing things over and over and over again, creating new positions, but also cutting so many people.
Where did we see the job gains, Christine, and did they stack up against inflation?
You know, so we saw leisure and hospitality essentially flat. We saw manufacturing essentially flat. That has been going down since last April. We saw the federal government jobs down, but we saw healthcare up 82,000. So you're still seeing a lot of energy in healthcare. And you asked me about wages. Wages, 3.7%. So that's essentially how much the typical paycheck is growing annually, 3.7%. Inflation is 2.7%. So on paper, we know there's affordability conversation. We know people feel like they're being nickeled and dimed by the cost of living. But at least on paper, wages are rising faster than stated inflation. So
Which, okay, just because the inflation of the US dollar is going up doesn't mean, or is going lower than the perceived value of like wages. Wages on across the board aren't going up. It's really for specific industries and for specific roles. Additionally, just because inflation is going up doesn't mean companies and private companies can't increase their prices beyond that inflationary percentage, which happens quite often. The only kind of market that we see that inflation is like a direct tie to would be gas. Gas got really low, but it's creeping back up there. Gas is creeping back up in price.
So that should be good for family budgets. But again, watching with some concern just the real slow nature of job creation in 2025. And then you saw this 130,000 jobs added in 2026. So there's a lot here for people to kind of chew over.
Yeah, and Christine, great job with a great breakdown of some very brand new information. Thank you so much.
Cowardly take on it from, NBC, but what do you expect? Unemployment, underemployment rates for recent college graduates. No. Oh, that's the New York Fed. Other analysts estimate job growth for 2025 will be reduced to near zero. What the fuck? Oh my God, despite annual job growth Despite the cut in annual job growth, unemployment rate lowered slightly to 4.3% in January. U.S. added 130,000 non-farm jobs, beating the estimates of 4.4 and 75,000. Healthcare accounted for more than half the jobs gained. I'm not surprised that healthcare is accounting for so much, especially with underpaid nurses either quitting or leaving, and then people filling that role. Try to lower expectations for Rezai's job market in recent days. One shouldn't panic if you see a sequence of numbers that are lower than you are used to. I think you should expect slightly smaller job numbers that are considered with high GDP growth right now. We have to revise our expectations for a monthly job number should look like. The Bureau of Labor Statistics Commissioner Erica McEntnaffer was ousted by Trump last year. Trump appointed to a revision made in August 2026. August 2026, you mean August 2025, that cut a combined 258,000 jobs. Oh, man. I disabled my ad blocker. Thank you. Oh, my God. Fuck off. The 118. Oh my God. I don't care. Get away from me. Get off my screen. Last represented a 118% jump from the same period last year. Most in any January since 2009, when the U.S. was reeling from a Great Recession triggered by a housing market crisis. Consulting firm Challenger. This video. Oh my God, please. This is a good YouTube channel. Infranomics, very good YouTube channel. So the Fed is buying more and more debt, meanwhile making less and less money in the government.
3% already. Now, just as a brief reminder, assets equal liabilities plus capital. When we're looking at the Fed.
Yeah, he speaks in a very technical way, and I have a hard time wrapping my head around it sometimes, but what was I looking oh my God, I'm sorry, I love you, Pookie Bear, but I need to look at something specific. 25% drop in silver, man. Oh. And an 8.75% drop in gold. Let's do some quick math here, chat. With a market cap of 33.9 trillion. Hold on, let me bust out 33 trillion 900 million or 900 billion rather. Yeah, 100,000 million billion trillion times, or not times, but divided by times. It'd be times 0.875. No, 0875. 0875 equals, that's a loss of 100,000 million billion, $3 trillion. Almost $3 trillion in one day. And then a quarter of the silver market was completely eliminated in one day. This is rough, man. If you had silver or gold, I apologize. Also, if you have silver or gold right now in the US and you sell it in China, you're getting a better rate. So if you buy silver in the US, which is at a lower price, and then sell it in China, you're making money. Because the US dollar is not doing too hot, man. Yeah, this is the shit that when he pulled up this graph, I was like, man, I ain't gonna be lying to you. I don't know what the hell you talking about. And I think the S&P also dropped. S&P 500. Here. This is what I had up earlier. Dow dips 67 points. NASDAQ falls 36 points. And S&P ends flat. Are we great yet? No, we're not great yet, TikTok chat. After initially rising to an all-time high, S&P flipped between gains and losses before finishing with a minuscule dip of less than 0.1%. Treasury yields remained higher in the bond market after labor said the employers had 130,000 jobs, so their payroll is left months more than economists expected, but less than what they originally reported. Job raises hope the U.S. economy can remain solid, driving big profits for companies. Yeah, the only thing that sucks about reading like articles like this is like it's very skewed in a way to make the economy look stronger than it is. But you can look at things like this. Crypto prices plunged, fell towards 67,000 on Wednesday. Holy shit. Just losses after losses after losses after losses after losses. And it's just, it's not going to be fun when all this comes crashing down. Let's look over the last month. Oh, Jesus, it's just dips. 6 months. We can see this growth. This is a lot of the AI bubble where we're getting a lot of this growth from. But you can see over the last, let's see, what is it? Like 2-3 months, it's kind of leveled off here and it's not going any higher. In the last year as well, very slow rises. Meanwhile, if we look from like March to, let's do March to, what am I looking for? Let's do 2 months. March to, what is that? May? Yeah. May 19th, we're at 6,000 points almost. March, we're at 5,500. That growth is stopping harsh as well. And then the S&P 500 was just never doing super well after COVID. This is one I'm very interested in, the NASDAQ. Whew. Whew. Oof, that dip is going to hurt. And I don't see these charts. Learning about the American economy from an anime girl was not something I thought I'd expect. Lesbian fan cell, neat girl failure. You know, you learn something new every day. When you're seeing these types of drops in these trends, it's just never, it's not going to be a strong economy for very long. Though the Dow's not doing terrible, I guess, year to date, but over the last day, it's definitely dropped a good amount of points. It's something you don't want. Bitcoin. Oh, did gold go back up? Hold on. Last I heard, gold was on the down, but I guess it's kind of on the drop, on the up. Okay, yeah, here's that dip. But you know what? If it's going back up, that's something to look forward to. A little bit of delay in economic downturn. Ooh, Bitcoin. And oh my God, I didn't realize how bad it was in the Bitcoin sector. It is. And Bitcoin is something that the economy is also kind of not dependent on, but it's a good thing to keep your eye on because it has relationships with a lot of our other economic forces. And the Microsoft earnings report. Mr. Economic. I just got a video on my YouTube saying stock market crash of 2008. And it was a news video, but yeah, I mean, I guess that makes sense. I wouldn't be surprised within the next year. Like I said, we're going to see an economic downturn that's going to be pretty ugly. Where is the Microsoft one? Where are you, baby girl?
And yesterday.
Here we go. Microsoft expected,
or the day before, I guess the afternoon before yesterday, Microsoft came out with their earnings and they disappointed. And what we can see is the largest decline in Microsoft going back years. It was
woo, baby. Woo! This shit's gonna be rough, man. Companies are making no money from AI. They're gonna pull out investment from it, and that bubble is going to pop. And it's gonna be rough, especially with this new Fed chair wanting to cut interest rates. No people who have debtors are going to want that money back so badly because they're not going to make a profit off of that interest rate. They're going to demand that debt back from companies, and companies are going to have to sell, or not sell, but sell off huge portions of their investments to pay back that debt. Is this going to be like a Japan? Is this going to be like a Japan, like 1980s Japan, where they didn't have enough money to pay back any of their debt? Because I know all these assholes kind of sit at the same table, but I think this might end up like this might be a Japan, guys. We might see the U.S. become the first fourth world economy. Stay safe. Be rice and bean pilled. Make food. Don't go out to eat. Do not lose your job if you have it right now, unless you have to. It is really, really bad if you lose your job right now. You will not find a new job. It'll be very difficult. I think things will turn around eventually, but just not for a while. It'll be like probably about a year before we see any sort of improvement. Fear that AI will somehow persist even after the bubble bursts. Oh, it definitely will. But I think it's going to be less economically integrated as it is now. I do think the companies are going to continue to try to remove people like positions of employment, but that's not really the big issue with AI. It's more of like the speculative investing on the perceived value of AI, then increase the company's profit shares, and then they can leverage that perceived wealth against debt and interest rates that they have and buy more debt.